Hello. Well, welcome to SSUC this morning. Welcome. Good morning. We are here. Welcome to this place of exploration, where we explore our highest values and best humanity. Welcome to this place of community, celebrating diversity and affirmation. And welcome to this community where we're invited to open ourselves to compassion and depth, knowing that we're each important, we're each valued. And so whatever has brought you here today, whether it's a force of habit, or whether it's because you long to see the people that gather around you, because you're at home in your jammies and you needed something to do, welcome. To all of you, whether you're in this space or gathering online, or specifically a special welcome to SSUC Saskatoon, who gathers at St. Andrew's College this morning. Welcome to you. Today, as we light our community candle, we celebrate and honor Mother's Day. We recognize mothers everywhere. We're all alive, in part, thanks to our mothers. Well, there's time for that some other time. Fathers get their own day. This one's for moms. We're all alive in part thanks to a mother, a birther of life. We recognize the gift of our birth and take this time to honor the mothers in our lives. There are many. There are our birth mothers, our adopted mothers. For those who have, without ties of blood, been like mothers to us. For those who express the spirit of care to others regardless of parentage, who share that care among humans, with animals, with nature. We honor today the mothering spirit, life giver, caretaker, protector, sacred feminine of this life. And in this expansive and embracing way, we share gratitude and we share light with each other and recognize and celebrate the mothering spirit amongst us all. As we open ourselves to community, we will allow the choir to invite us in to that spirit of our words and our being important to all that we do. Thank you, choir. I'm thrilled to welcome those folks gathered in Saskatoon this morning.
Welcome to all of you who have joined us here today on Treaty 6 territory and the homelands of the Métis. We have come together from SSUC Edmonton, SSUC Saskatoon, and all of those who have joined online to continue building relationships and learning from one another. The land here in this place on which we live, work, and play has been shared with us through the signing of Treaty 6 by Cree, Assiniboine, and Ojibwe leaders, and by ancestors of the Métis community that included the South Branch and Round Prairie settlements. As we think about our relationships with the land and the people of the land, we are committed to learning from a place of humility, listening to understand, using our voices to raise those of others who have been less heard, and leading with our hearts to treat all treaty land inhabitants with dignity, grace, and value.
Time for all ages. I don't even have to say the words. Anyone is welcome to the carpet or the front row who wants to come for our time. Welcome. If I said to you, to love your neighbor, what do you think about that? What does that mean? I've got a picture here on the screen that maybe you can see, maybe you can. There it is. Loving our neighbor. When we use the word neighbor, we usually are talking about our next door neighbors in our community. So kind of like that, like if I lived in one house, maybe my neighbors are walking down the street, or maybe they live in the next house. But I want to talk to you about a different, maybe you've already thought about this, but this is a different way to think about what it means to think about our neighbor. Because I have this picture here, which is really weird. Do you recognize that? Does it look familiar? Anyone? It doesn't look familiar, does it? No. Well, it's because I went on Google Earth and I zoomed in as close as I could to the front windows of this building. So that's the roof of this place. Now, when you take a picture from outer space, which is where this is taken from, you don't get really clear images. Well, at least on Google Earth you don't. You can, but for Google Earth, this is the best that it does. So now look at that. I zoomed out a little bit, and now I can tell. Oh, there. Okay, so this is our immediate area of the church. I can see our parking lot, I can see the building, I can see the community hall next door, and just a few really close People, houses. I can't see the people. Oh, now I'm zooming out some more. Well, look at that. I can see some streets that I know around here, and all of these people are our neighbors. But that's a lot of people, so I don't know all of them. We can't possibly know all of them. But then I think, well, if we zoom out a little bit more, okay, well, here's the whole south side of Edmonton. That's a lot of people. I certainly don't know all of those people. Do you think they're still my neighbors? Well, that was a leading question. Of course you're going to answer yes. There's the whole city. Oh my gosh, we keep zooming out. Okay. So we're part of a bigger place. There's Western Canada, a little bit of the United States at the bottom, and that's a whole lot of people in North America. More people than I could ever possibly know. You too. We can't know that many people. Oh, well, okay, we're zooming out some more. We've got the shape of the planet now, and let's spin it. Well, oh, look, there's Australia. Antarctica. Here comes Africa. There's Europe up there. Oh, we're home again. All of these people are our neighbors. Now, that doesn't mean we have a summer barbecue with all of them. We can't. There's billions of people. But what it does mean is that when we talk about our neighbor, we're talking about how we can have an attitude of respect for everyone on the planet. To treat our neighbor, to love our neighbor, means that we are seeing them not as other people, strangers. I mean, we don't know them. But we're thinking, they're the same as the person who lives next door to me. They've got maybe pets, they've got family, they've got work that they do in their yard, they maybe grow flowers, maybe they go to, maybe they go to piano lessons, or maybe they have really challenging lives. It doesn't matter. All of them are our neighbors, and I think that matters, because if we think about it that way, then what might happen? What might happen in the world if everyone thought of everyone else as their neighbors? Would there be some differences if we all thought that way? Can you think of any? It's a hard question. Well, I don't really want to hurt my neighbor because I know them. So if I think of the person on the other side of the planet as my neighbor, I probably won't want to hurt them either, by my words or by what I do. So there's a lot of amazing things that can happen if we just change the way we think about other people. And if we think, oh, what would it be like if I loved my neighbor and if the whole world was my neighbor? It's a different way to think, but it would make a big difference. So there we have it. Thank you for coming up here. Thanks for just looking at Google Earth with me. It's just fun. Okay, so if you'd like to go to Kid Spirit, you're welcome. If you'd like to stay in the room, you're also welcome. Thank you.
morning. I'm Terry. The wisdom reading this morning is called Don't Change by Anthony DeMello from The Song of the Bird. I was neurotic for years. I was anxious and depressed and selfish. Everyone kept telling me to change. I resented them and I agreed with them and I wanted to change, but simply couldn't, no matter how hard I tried. What hurt the most was that, like the others, my best friend kept insisting that I change. So I felt powerless and trapped. Then one day he said to me, "Don't change. I love you just as you are." Those words were music to my ears. Don't change. Don't change. Don't change. I love you as you are. I relaxed. I came alive, and suddenly I changed. Now I know that I couldn't really change until I found someone who would love me, whether I changed or not. This is a spiritual teaching from a 20th century mystic. May we find wisdom for our living.
I think back to school and youth groups and scouts, and there's one word that brings dread to my heart. Let's have an icebreaker activity. Is there anything worse? Maybe it's the introvert in me that screams when I think of participating in a getting to know you activity, especially with a bunch of strangers. But I know that in theory they're great. In theory, we want to get to know each other. But they're only fun, ironically, if the ice is already broken. If you already are connected and you know each other and can feel safe and let loose in some way, that's the only time that those contrived activities are any fun at all. There's this one I remember where you stand in a circle and you grab hands with people across the circle from you, and you circle and you turn until you're all twisted up and tangled, and then it's the job of the group to get untangled without letting go of the hands. I was a youth leader for a long time. I know icebreakers, but that one, yuck. Two truths and a lie is also so beautiful, isn't it? Why do I want to trick the people I'm trying to get to know? Trust falls, not a chance. Like three-legged races where you stand beside your partner and tie your inside legs to each other, as if that's not intimate enough. You have to run as a team and win a race and fall on top of each other a couple times as you do it. These are all activities that are meant to emphasize our need to work together, to rely on each other. And I guess I'm being generous that this is always the goal, but to build comfort and connection with each other in order that you can go to work or go to play or go to a task with each other in successful ways. Well, I'm starting off this post-traumatic stress incident report because it's my small little public service announcement to ban all icebreaker activities for all time. There's some people who agree. Well, if you don't, that's fine. You can have your fun, and I'll be the one on the chair at the side. But this is also to illustrate that there's no shortcut to these kind of connections that we want to make with each other. You don't do it in a 10-minute game. The kind of trust that it takes to build community with each other, the kinds of relationships that foster mutuality and partnership, that doesn't just happen. We are in a series entitled Ready or Not, Wisdom for Thriving Midst Life's Transitions. That's an awfully large goal, but it sounds good. There comes a time in all of our lives when we move into times of relationships, all different kinds. Those can be when we start dating and start spending time with people that aren't in our immediate family. When we start building new friendships. These can be when we're moving in with roommates or new partners, or when we marry, or any time that we're entering into situations when we're needing to build new relationships. And that happens throughout our whole lives. Moving into a communal setting, starting in a new workplace environment, starting a new school program. In all of these times, we're adjusting. We're experiencing the change of building new or different facets of our relationships. So today, sharing two stories with you. One we've already heard. The mystical story that was shares an experience of a person whom everyone kept telling to change. That person wanted to change, but simply couldn't, no matter how hard they tried. It wasn't until their friends said to them, "Don't change. I love you just as you are," that they could rest into the trust and support of that relationship, come alive, and change. That's a very condensed and simple story that sometimes illustrates a process that might take months, years for us to achieve. It speaks loudly, though, of supportive relationships. And I don't just mean those loving, partnered relationships that we may or may not have in our lives. I'm talking about any trusting relationship that we have with a close friend, with a mentor, a mentee, with a family member. Change is hard. And there are times we invite it and welcome it, and there are other times when we meet it kicking and screaming. I sometimes do feel like a bit of a temper tantruming 7-year-old when I think of making new friends. In the middle of my life, I think, no, that's hard. I don't want to. Sometimes we want it but can't do it. Sometimes we crave it but don't know how to accomplish it. Sometimes we seek it but need help to find it. We know from brain science that we're not wired to tackle life alone. We are communal creatures. It's built into our brains. We evolved like many other mammals with an innate drive to be together in groups and to bond with certain members of those groups, that we look to each other for our needs, for protection, for safety, for communication, for assurance that we will be okay as individuals and collectively. Now, we might be wired that way, but it doesn't make it easy. And I'll tell you what, I have talked to so many people the stats say that our number of close confidants and our close connections in life is going down generation by generation. But let me tell you, and maybe you feel this too, the pandemic and afterward has wreaked havoc on our close friendships and relationships, even family relationships. That it has been very, very hard on us. And so even though we know we're wired for community, we're wired for connection, it doesn't make it easy. And lots of things get in its way. So is it any wonder then that we can't always just decide to change? Decide to make the most of those close relationships in our lives? We can't just will it into being most times. It shouldn't be a surprise to us, and it is always a surprise to me that we would need another's acceptance and encouragement in order for us to tackle the biggest work of our lives. The act of becoming the people we wish to become. We don't do that on our own. Why am I always surprised by that? We don't become our best selves alone. We can sit and we can read all the books we want. But unless we have people in our lives to live it out with and practice it with and get better at it with, it just doesn't happen on our own. The biggest stuff in life, it happens because we know that we have at least one other at our side and at our back. The one to say, it doesn't matter if you change or not. I love you. A lesson I and maybe you seek to learn every day. A second story from the early Christian church, one that follows what happened in the years after, the big stories of our tradition about Jesus being killed for the message that he was teaching, and in the time that followed, there are some accounts of those early people trying to make their way afterward. And so once the followers of Jesus got on with the task of building communities that could carry on the teachings of their founder, they moved out in different directions. These stories of these early communities in the book of Acts talk about these groups gathering to do a number of things, and it lays them out. It says they taught the wisdom they learned, they shared friendship and social times, they ate together, they prayed together. This is all sounding quite familiar. And then some more surprising and countercultural things that were happening we read in the second chapter. Get this. The people who gathered together to call themselves community were encouraged to hold all that they owned in common. They were selling their possessions and belongings, distributing the proceeds to everyone in the community as they had need. It's written that they did this with generous hearts and open spirits in an effort to ensure that all were taken care of, especially ones who were widows, orphans, poor, sick. And it makes me ask the question, what does it mean to find our way into community? It does mean a lot of these things that were demonstrated almost 2 millennia ago. But at its heart, I think it speaks the words, we don't go it alone. We always need other members of the community. When we're strong, we can give. When we're weak, we need to receive. In our early years, we were focused on the changes and transitions from dependence to independence. But it isn't until we start building relationships in our lives that we start thinking and working on the life skill of nurturing interdependence. That word means freedom. Well, first let's start with independence, because independence is freedom from any control of another. Freedom from influence, support, help of others. And if we're talking about early childhood skills, like learning to walk on your own or do all those early childhood things, the work of defining who we are. This is all fine, dependence. But it only serves us to a point, and a life of independence is really a life all alone. Think of that, with no support, help, or anyone around you to lift you up, to encourage you, to work with you. Would any of us really want a life of independence completely? So the wisdom that seems to be around us seems to say that despite what our cultural messages tell us about being our own person, which if we're talking about, our value and our uniqueness, of course that's true. But despite what our cultural messages tell us about being our own person, and usually with the added little caveat that all we really need is product X or process Y, and we'll be thriving individuals as we've always wanted to be. But alas, no. If we're going to thrive in transitions we make toward new or better relationships, then it seems this wisdom is saying that we have to rid ourselves of that fiercely independent streak of ours. That you or me should be able to handle anything kind of attitude. Like if I can't get over it, or if I can't get over this hurdle in my life, then I'm not worth much of anything if I can't do it myself. We have to get over that. Be done with it. In favor of building up this attitude of us, of we. So instead of icebreaker activities, I'm back to that, sorry, it's my little horse for the day. Instead of icebreaker activities to connect us and build us up as a group, somewhere between that and between this idea of please sell everything you have and share it with the church kind of approach that the early church took, there's some places in the middle. Maybe some steps we can take in our journey to embrace interdependence. And the first one I want to share is something we've already affirmed together, and that is that everyone is valuable. It's funny how our reflections often just go back to what happened on the carpet for the Time for All Ages, because when we can sum it up simply, it's really best to do it that way. Everyone is important. Everyone is our neighbor. We're innately valuable. Each of us is a wonder and a gift to the world. We don't always feel it, but it doesn't make it less true. So it may be very hard on many days, but whatever mantra you need when you're out in the world to remind yourself that we are all innately valuable, like when you're cut off in traffic, or whatever hardship it is that we whine and complain about, whatever mantra we need to remind us that everyone is valuable, let's do that. Another step that's possible on our way to interdependence is recognizing that everyone has something to offer. This is very related to the first one. But I don't have every gift, and you don't have every gift. But we each have some, and we each have specific talents to offer. Our individual strengths and purpose play into our communal strength and purpose. So maybe this can be true in your loving relationships, that you don't have to be exactly the same. Maybe this can be true among our friends or our coworkers or our family members. Who's good at what? Who can learn from whom? Everyone has something to offer. And you know, it does really help to rally around common goals. Interdependence is not about doing your own thing, although we all have to do our own thing. It's about coming together to accomplish something much bigger than we could do on our own. If we could do what we do together as this community all on our own, then we wouldn't need to be here. We wouldn't need to open our doors. This is where we must know and remember our identity and strength as a community, or as a couple, or as a friend group, or as a team in a workplace, or whatever. It's where we need to know how we all can contribute different things to a common purpose. As an example, do we all know SSUC's 4 identity statements? Because that would be a trigger to us to remind ourselves of what are we doing here? What's the point? And how can we work together if we don't know what we're working on? So that's just one example. We keep the common goals we have, not just as this community, but as within any of your relationships. We keep the goal in front of us. We remind us of what we're working on, what we're working towards, what's our common vision and purpose together. And I'm sorry for this one, but this is me being the helper-fixer guy who gets really tired of just talking about it for a while and then just wants to get to it. So this one is just speaking to me, I guess. Get busy, go to work. Join as a team, get busy, get it done. I have to do my part, you have to do your part, and I have to carry part of the load, but not all of it. You have to carry part of the load, but not all of it. But each of us will do our part to make it happen. So, ready or not, we're always in the midst of moving through transitions. From I to we, from me to us. May we do so with open hearts in all of life's transitions and make our way not alone, but together. That's the hope. That's the goal. That's our wish and our prayer. May it be so in so many ways. Janice, why did I put the invitations and announcements right after my reflection? That sounds crazy. Some of you have some things to share with us today, so I'm inviting you to come forward. But before you do that, maybe I should just mention this, because it's pretty exciting. Daisy and Ariane are working with the kids this morning, but they are hard at work planning a summer kids camp. So if you've got kids age 6 to 12, grandkids age 6 to 12, neighbors 6 to 12, people on the street 6 to 12, think about this. It's Camp Explore, exploring nature, imagination, science, other cultures, and lots of things. 5 days, July, last week of July, beginning of August, and that's pretty exciting. So I know Sheila is here, and she's got something to say about our Zatoun sales.
Good morning. I'm Sheila Clunk, and I'm coming to you along with a triad, actually, Curtis Tufts and Sherry Ann Chapman, and we are part of the Zatoun products and a way that you can help your neighbor halfway around the world to bring social justice to the community in Israel and Palestine. Some of you are already familiar with the products that I have here, but those of you who aren't, there's the Zatoun oil. And of course, just like many of the things we've noticed going up in price. The oil hasn't, but shipping here has. So our Zatoun oil, and this is way if you could purchase it, and it's $24 now, $24 for a bottle. And the smaller one, which is 500 mils, is $19. Now, some of you got a real deal in our last shipment because I got some wrong information and I sold the bottles for cheaper. That has all been reconciled. So if you think suddenly that the price has gone off a lot, it was my bad. And so this is $19 and this is $24. And then we have the spices, and it is really a very rich type of thyme, T-H-Y-M-E. And those of you that cook love to put thyme in stews and soups. This is really quite good. I mean, you know, when you have the other stuff off the shelf in the store, you really wonder the connection. And this whole package is only $6. And if you know what spices cost in the store, you know that's a really good deal. And the other thing is the olive soap, $6 a bar. None of those have changed in price. And it's even a good deal because if you go on the website, you will find that some of these things are priced a little bit more. So you are getting a deal, but you're also helping a group of people who are trying to make a difference and bring peace in the Middle East. And we have, as the United Church of Canada, a number of other churches have joined along with the Palestinian groups here, the Muslims, and Jewish brothers and sisters. It is now a united network, and it's called United Network for Justice and Peace in Palestine and Israel. And we are part of it as a united church, as a church, and in supporting their work as well as supporting the Palestinians who are struggling to bring peace in their country and in their place. So you will see these out on the table there. Sometimes you will see me, sometimes you'll see Sherry Ann on Sunday. They are also available in the office to purchase when Ann Ainsley's there. And we would really encourage you. Sometimes you think, what can I do? I can't do anything halfway around the world. Just a little bit of buying some oil or some of the spices does make a difference. Okay, thank you very much. I think we've got, guess who's coming to dessert, and you can make desserts with these.
Thanks for my introduction. Yes, well, signing up for being a guest has begun well, and there's still space. We hope you've been checking your calendars for the last week in May. Nearly every day of that week, an afternoon or evening time to go to a mystery place. I know it's a bit like ice breaking. I have a whole new reality about this, but it's ice breaking with a twist. There's dessert. So please, today, if you're having a little trouble navigating, Bill and Marilyn and I will be at the back table to help you sign up for a particular location. Also, we hosts, we are flipping through the pages of our recipe books. I've already tried out something on some lovely friends. I do like to try out recipes and, you know, spring them on people I don't know too well. So, but anyway, we're all looking for recipes and getting excited about hosting. So please, please be part of this. It's just for being together, and won't that be fun?
this is a time for our sharing, that we can lift up those things that weigh heavily on us, that bring us joy, those concerns for those things happening in our lives or the people we know or our neighbors across the world, that we can lift them up and express our care, our love, and do all those things that we do in relationships with our neighbors. So I invite you to consider if there's anything you'd like to share with the community, to come to this microphone or to wave your hand so that we can get that microphone to you. But those of us who can make our way to the microphone will do so. And as you share that, we have our prompt on the screen. After each sharing, we'll say, "In this sharing," and we'll all respond, "May love abound." For those of you at home that may wish to offer something to the group, you are an important part of this community. Those of you who are on the live stream, please text your joys, your concerns that you'd like shared to the number on your screen, and we will share those within the group as well. This is our time.
I'm tired and exhausted and late to church. My name is Barbara Sadler-Wells. I got my start as a musician with this community of spiritual seekers. And a really hard thing happened to me 40 years ago on Mother's Day. And I needed to come here today to be with all of you in honor of surviving that. And it's the most important place I could have been. I had no idea that you have a sharing time. I was just gonna sit back there and feel the strength that comes from this group. And I'm so grateful. I'm just grateful. Thank you.
In this sharing, may love abound.
I'm grateful for modern medicine. I've got a worn out hip, and it was giving me a lot of discomfort. I couldn't find a place in my bed that was comfortable, and my doctor arranged for me to get a shot in the hip. Well, prior to 2008, I had one. The needle was 3 inches long and it hurt like you know what. Well, this time things have improved a lot. There was just 2 little stings, one to freeze and one to put the shot in. And I was frozen for hours and it was wonderful.
In this sharing, may love abound.
I need to confess, I just arrived. I missed the service, so I'm not sure exactly what this is about, but I was just at the hospital. My daughter-in-law gave birth and became a mother 2 days ago, so I got to see my grandchild this morning and say Happy Mother's Day to her too for the first time.
In this sharing, may love abound. One moment, please. Not for the people at home, you can't.
Okay, I concede. I learned the other day that my ex-husband, the father of my children, got a incurable cancer diagnosis. So my thoughts are with him, his wife, and my children and grandchildren who will go through this next process with him to his death.
In this sharing, may love abound.
He reminded me about birth and Mother's Day. Mother's Day, 23 years ago, our first granddaughter was born. And so today is her birthday, and her mother, every once in a while, her mother gets to celebrate Mother's Day with her. So it's great.
In this sharing, may love abound. An unknown texter writes, for those who are struggling with the aging process, may they feel the support and love of family and neighbors. In this sharing, may love abound.
As many of you know, the wildfires, you'd have to be hiding under a rock, the wildfires that are spreading across our province. And for some of you who don't know me, I lived in Drayton Valley for 22 years. So I have lots of close and dear friends. And so I would just like to send our love and support, not just to Drayton Valley, but all the people who are displaced or are in limbo. I talked to some clients up in Valley View who are in limbo, right? They don't know when they'll go, and I just would like to send our care and love to them.
In this sharing, may love abound. And just on that same topic from Teresa in Saskatoon, sharing thoughts about all Albertans facing evacuation and emphasizing the animals and all the earth beings in this sharing.
My daughter has lived in Australia for 24 years. This weekend she came home just to celebrate my 80th birthday. She's first birthday I've had with her in 24 years.
In this sharing, may love abound.
Hi. I guess I'd like to share, in the past 3 months, I've actually reconnected with my father after about 4 years of not speaking, and we held a surprise birthday party for him a few weeks ago. Got him, a new iPad and stuff, and took him out for dinner. My dad's not rich by any means. He lives in, social housing, right? So it was really nice to be able to see him. It's like seeing a kid, because he doesn't get to go out, he doesn't get to do anything. So that was fun.
In this sharing, may love abound.
I think for me, Mother's Day is kind of a strange one, especially in the last few years as someone who's built my family through foster care, through adoption. It's a time to think about all those parents who aren't holding their children, all those moms who had lost their chance to be a mother, and hopefully we can send some thoughts and love to those people, those women who are missing their children.
In this sharing, may love abound. We've shared one at a time.
Intentions, adapted from Greta Vosper. Strengthening our intentions, adapted from Greta Vosper. In caring for one another, may we be untiring. In challenging one another, may we be respectful. In sheltering one another, may we be faithful. In holding one another, may we be tender. In forgiving one another, may we be generous. And in loving one another, may we be all these things and more, as we seek to hold each other in trust, accountability, and humility. May it be so.
As this flame transitions into dancing tendrils of smoke, may we be forever grateful for our time together in this space, more mindful of the blessing of community within these walls and beyond, and truly embrace living in the shelter of each other. May it be so.